Toronto's Children's Aid Society say they are struggling to help children with complex needs. Since 2021, the number of children in welfare agencies has tripled, and children with complex needs make up a third of the children who are in care. Officials with the agencies say the cost is overwhelming. Joining us this morning for a look at the systemic crisis is Priscilla Manful. She's the CEO of the Catholic Children's Aid Society of Toronto. We appreciate you being here this morning.
Thank you very much, Anne-Marie.
First of all, can you explain what is a complex need when you're describing a child like that? What does that look like? And what support then is needed to help?
So the Ministry of Health, in fact, describes complex special needs as a child or young person who has a diagnosis of mental health related issues, which might be anxiety, depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, along with a developmental challenge, which will also be autism. So you need to have that dual diagnosis to be viewed as experiencing complex special mental health needs. Mm-hmm. Now, as far as resources are concerned, I want to be able to highlight things from the perspective of families. Mm-hmm. When a family is struggling, all they need is services now. They don't want to be told that their child is too complex, right? And so for me, we need to look at things from both the local level and also from the systemic levels. Yeah. And this is where we might be able to co-create solutions to address some of these challenging issues that seems to be taking hold here now.
Well, I'm glad you're here to talk solutions. Where do you want to start, systemic or local level solutions?
Either. I mean, I think for starters, looking at things once again from families' perspective.
Yeah.
And then when you look at the systemic levels, we need to move away from being very siloed in terms of our operations and having more of a system approach. So when I say system approach, having different sectors come together, including the Ministry of Children and Community and Social Services, MCCSS, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Education. These are some of the core sectors that children, in fact, interact with. So coming together and looking at that from a very high level around what each sector's mandate might be, and how do we coordinate and find frameworks and also find meaningful solutions to be able to begin to support children, youth, and families. I'll tell you that at the Catholic Children's Aid Society of Toronto, and also with many child welfare agencies, almost 97% of the children and youth that we work with, in fact, remain in their homes. We're talking about the less than 3% that actually come into our care.
Sure.
What we're seeing now is an escalation of kids with complex special needs actually coming in.
Yeah.
And so we need to have that systemic approach to be able to be resolving issues. We are talking, our partners in government, we're all talking together. This is not a new problem.
Right.
It's been an age-old problem, and we are hoping that we might begin to see incremental shifts as we go.
We've talked about systemic issues. What about at the local level? When you say families need more support, what does that actually look like?
Families really require services that are accessible, that are seamless, and also responsive to the unique needs of their children, which means it's not a one-size-fits-all. There are many services, locally, but we need to make sure that these services, in fact, are accessible and also very timely to be able to address the needs of our families. So at that local level, all of these children mental health services need to come together.
Yeah.
And I guess the biggest issue is there are kids that have been deemed too complex to support.
Yes.
And I think that is the cohort that we need to begin to look at as to what kind of services can we, in fact, build for these children so that they don't end at the doors of child welfare, so to speak, because of the gaps in the system is why we're seeing an escalation at the children's aid level.
Well, this is what I wanted to ask you about. They are all, as I like to say, beads on the same string. So when you are seeing, situations where parents are leaving with their children, with agencies like yourself out of desperation, it's because there are not enough mental health and family supports that are happening even at a provincial level, let alone federal level. And then they're ending up in organizations like yours who are then saying, we have more kids in the system who need this kind of care and we need help. Have you had conversations with parents who have been forced to make this decision or feel forced to make this decision of, I can't help this child with the resources in my own life. I've got to give it to somebody else to get help.
Yes, absolutely.
What do they say?
It's very heart-wrenching. I want to put things in context of that. Families, caregivers, parents, in fact, love and want to be able to support their children.
Of course.
No parents actually want to be able to leave their children at the stops of children's aid to be supported. It is, as you rightly said, Anne-Marie, it is because of the gaps in the communities and inaccessibility of services that is actually leading families to relinquish the care of their kids. I always say that it's highly unethical and also borders on moral principles for parents to have to make such heart-wrenching decisions. But parents have their wits' ends, right? Many of these services are not available, and sometimes when they are, there's extensive wait list there for them to really navigate through. And so their way is perhaps if I leave this kid at the Children's Aid Society, they might be able to get an access to services that they need and require almost immediately. It's just unfortunate, but that's what we're seeing.
It is organizations like yours that help point our eyes into the direction of what is needed, where and when, and how we got there in the first place. Priscilla Manfill, CEO of the Catholic Children's Aid Society of Toronto. I appreciate this conversation today.
Thank you very much, Anne-Marie. Thank you.
If you liked that video, make sure to subscribe to the Your Morning YouTube feed, where you can find all kinds of new content posted every weekday morning.